On a month like this, on a week like this, 2 years ago, Switch TV was born. It's been 2 years' drive of passion and reliability, culminating to all those beautiful shows and news products that we bring you every single day. We celebrate you for making sure that we are the most watched youth channel in Kenya. Now, this Friday, at exactly 7 p.m., we shall be having a Night of the Stars. Make sure to tune in and watch all your favorite anchors and presenters and live performances right here on your #1 TV station. So much for our birthday. Now, welcome to Breaking Today. My name is Frederick Mutiriri, and my sign language interpreter tonight is Teresia Washira. First, the highlights.
The unchecked utterances and political weaponization of public gathering continue to undermine the law and order within the country.
Government fires warning shots to politicians and Kenyans on social media. Al-Shabaab terror group has released 2 Cuban doctors who were kidnapped from Mandera town last year. And the government will issue free face masks to needy students, Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha promises. Welcome to the broadcast. Now, Head of Public Service Joseph KONZA has directed that all public meetings to be held in compliance with the Public Order Act, failing which culprits will be penalized. KONZA, who is also the chairman of National Security Advisory Council, has also said that the situation has created fear, despondency, and political uncertainty. And as David Kagina is reporting, all politicians who are planning to hold public gatherings from now henceforth will be required to seek permission 3 days prior to the planned event. And I'm being told that story is being prepared. We're bringing you that story in a short while. Moving on, a section of leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto have condemned the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, for allegedly being influenced by government officials. The Tangatanga Brigade insists that the IG risks facing the International Criminal Court.
IG, ICC is beckoning. ICC is calling you. Unfortunately, the people who are using you today will not be with you. You will be there to answer as an individual.
Na nimwambie IG, boss yako ni rais wa Kenya na raia. Matiang'i is not your boss. You are an independent person. Stop taking instructions from Matiang'i.
Na tunataka kumwambia Mutyambai atuambie kama police force ama police service is an independent institution as per our constitution, ama imekuwa militia group ya kupokea calls from above ili wa withdraw security ili wapange njama ya kulete furugu katika kanisa.
And I want to urge the Inspector General of Police, like my colleagues have said, we are asking the Inspector General of Police to run the police as is stipulated in the Constitution as an independent entity that does not report, that does not succumb to persuasion from this or that corner. Their mandate is the security of citizens, their property, their lives, and the security of our nation.
Al-Shabaab terror group has released 2 Cuban doctors who were kidnapped from Mandera town last year in April, months after negotiations between the Cuban government and the captors. The Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez has tweeted about the news of their release and thanked the Somali government for its help. The doctors, identified as Asel Herrera and Landy Rodriguez, were part of the 100-member Cuban team of doctors who came to Kenya for work under an agreement between the 2 countries. The 2 were kidnapped by a terrorist while going to work on 12th of April last year. Their bodyguard was shot dead on the spot. All right, he died on the spot. Beg your pardon. 2 suspects, Mohammed Ahmed and Hussein Mustafa, of the 2013 terror attack at the Westgate Mall have been found guilty. The verdict was passed earlier today by Milimani Law Court's Chief Magistrate Francis Andai after postponement of the case for at least 3 years due to time constraint. The sentencing comes 7 years after the attack, which killed 67 people and left scores injured. Mangwena reports.
After a trial that began in January 2014, Chief Magistrate Francis Andai of Milimani Law Courts has found Mohammed Ahmed Abdi and Hussein Hassan Mustafa guilty of aiding the Westgate terror attack that happened in 2013. The third suspect, Liban Abdullah Omar, was however acquitted after the court failed to find evidence linking him to the terrorists. Chief Magistrate Francis Andai said the two were also found guilty of possession of terrorism materials and knowingly supporting a terror act.
I'm satisfied that the prosecution has proved these charges against the first and the fourth accused persons. I find them guilty and I convict them accordingly. I find that the prosecution has not proved its case against the second accused person on all the charges that were facing him, and consequently he is acquitted under Section 215 of the criminal.
Despite that there was no evidence that the two financially supported the terrorists, the court said that the track record of the communication they had with them was enough to support the accusation of aiding and abetting. Prosecutor Edwin Okello responded to the ruling saying that justice had been served and asked the court to grant the office 7 days to file a victim assessment, as some who were affected may want to file a victim impact statement. The attack was claimed by Al-Shabaab in retaliation for Kenya's military intervention in southern Somalia since the year 2011. Kenyan troops have been part of the African Union mission to Somalia, AMISOM, which helps to drive Al-Shabaab from key strongholds in the war-torn nation. The two suspects that have been found guilty are facing a jail term of 20 years. Fatma Ngwena, Switch TV.
Thank you, Fatma. Now I take you back to a story I told you earlier on. Head of Public Service Joseph KONZA has directed that all public meetings be held in compliance with the Public Order Act, failing which culprits will be penalized. KONZA, who is also the chairman of the National Security Advisory Council, has also said that the situation that has been created, it creates fear, despondency, and political uncertainty. And as David Kagina is reporting, all politicians who are planning to hold public gatherings from now henceforth will be required to seek permission 3 days prior to the planned event.
Following the rising political heat in the country that has been characterized by traces of violence, with the most recent being in Murang'a County that led to the loss of lives, the National Advisory Committee on Security has come up with new directives.
The unchecked utterances and political weaponization of public gathering continue to undermine the law and order within the country. This disregard of the law has triggered violent confrontations among different groups, thus threatening national security of the nation.
The committee observed that 1. The recent speeches and utterances that incite and cause hatred, resentment, and create tension within the social fabric, utterances that fuel ethnic and group violence, use of abusive language, negative and incitive language.
It is in this context that NCAS has met to discuss the situation in the country with a view to maintaining peace and security.
From the committee's observation, all those intending to hold a public meeting will now be forced to hold all public meetings in accordance to the law, notify officer commanding stations at least 3 days but not more than 14 days before the proposed date of the meeting, be present throughout the meeting, obey all orders given to them by the OCS or any officer above the rank of the inspector.
The media shall A. Not publish words intended to incite feelings of contempt, hatred, hostility, violence, or discrimination against any person or group or community on the basis of ethnicity or race.
Social media was also identified as another avenue where violence and divide emanate from, and all social media users are now required to make sure that all their content is written in a language that avoids a tone and words that constitute hate speech, ethnic contempt, and incitement to violence, harassment, abuse, defamation, or intimidation. Before forwarding or sharing any messages, the users are now required to authenticate and validate the source and truthfulness of their content so as to limit information that might spread rumors, mislead, or not supported by facts. The administrators of social media platforms are hereby now required to bind the moderate and control undesirable content and discussions that have been brought to the attention of their platforms.
In this regard, NCIC hereby directs the relevant security organs to enforce these directives without fear or favor to the offenders, regardless of their economic standing, ethnicity, religion, political association, or status.
David Kagina, Switch TV.
Keep talking to me via SMS line, that is 111 444 111. That is on 111 444 111. Tell me where you are watching us from. I've been reading some of your SMSs as we go along. Now, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has warned politicians against exercising ethnic and divisive politics. Through NCIC Chairperson Samuel Kobia, the Commission blames politicians for setting grounds that could lead to a repeat of 2007-2008 post-election violence. Daniel Kurioki with the details.
With the sound of gunshots and citizens engaging in a vendetta with police is just but the second pandemic the country is grappling with. The Murang'a political violence caused by two warring groups labeled KONZA and TANGATANGA cost the lives of two Kenyans. The National Cohesion and Integration Commission has therefore issued a stern warning to politicians against exercising divisive and ethnic politics.
Yet Kenyans cannot be considered outsiders in their own country. Only the police need to be legally notified of such public meetings.
Kobe further warned politicians from denying their colleagues permission to exercise freedom of movement, adding that it is unconstitutional.
If we have prosecutorial powers, then we can, with the same vigor that we have investigated and arrested, etc., we believe that with those kind of powers, and we have been calling for that, if we had that, yes, we would go much further.
The Commission also urged leaders to exercise tolerance and embrace peace as they engage the public. However, Murang'a Senator Irungu Kang'ata today in Parliament denied claims of blocking anyone access to his county.
It is now on record, and I'm very happy, that no one blamed Kang'ata for that violence because everyone knows Kang'ata is a peaceful man. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, however, there is no evidence at all that the chaos that happened in Keno was planned by government.
With political temperatures in the nation daring to hit a high of 100 degrees, the NCAC is urging leaders to shun from ethnic and divisive politics that could drive the nation to a yet again political massacre. Daniel Kariuki, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Daniel. We are going on a short break, but before we go on a break, on 111 444 111, some of the SMSs that are coming in. Nishakiz Kim, Kiambu County, well represented. Edith Kulu, you're saying, tuned in. Edith, thank you so very much. Be Di Asli, you got some name there. Watching from Macha. Von Tonui, I'm watching. Keep watching. And texting me on 111 444 111. A short break. We'll be back with more in a short while. Welcome back to Breaking Today. Now, Machaka's governor and presidential hopeful Alfred Mutua has today called on President Uhuru Kenyatta to consider offering 100% free education and healthcare to school-going children following the ministry's announcement on resumption of learning institutions. Speaking in Maua town during one of his listening tours expected to be done across the country, Mutua has urged the president to consider parents who have been jobless during this COVID-19 period and did not have funds to pay for school fees. The governor claims that he is using the listening tours as a way of reaching out to wananchi ahead of his 2022 presidential bid.
Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta na serikali yake wamesema watoto warudi shule, na hiyo ni sawa, lakini hawa wazazi weko nyumbani, hawana pesa kwa mfuko, hawana shilingi kwa mfuko, wataweza kuwarudisha aje watoto shule na hawana pesa? What President Uhuru Kenyatta I'm requesting him to do, na unyenyekevu, tafadhali, kama ni free education, peana pesa iende mpaka boarding school, mtoto apelekwe na ikuwe ni 100% free education. Parents in Kenya are crying, na kama serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta haitaweza kupeana 100% including boarding kwa wakati huu wa COVID, healthcare na pia 100% education, basi hii mambo ya kurudi shule, wazazi kaeni na watoto nyumbani.
All right, from Machakos County, Alfred Mutua, it's time for business. Right now, Clifford Dumbe is standing by to give you so much in business in a short while.
All right, the business world is up and running, but with its fair share of challenges. We begin. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission says it has managed to recover assets worth about 20 billion shillings in the latest efforts to slay the ghost of corruption in the country. According to Twalib Mbarak, the EACC CEO, the public sector remains the net receiver of bribes, with a cost of corruption higher in urban areas than in rural. Let's listen in.
There was a time in this country you could not arrest a minister, you could not arrest a PS, even a head of a state corporation. We used to have an Auditor General of State Corporation. He will write everything, how money has been embezzled, and nothing will be done. Today we see people are being arrested. I think we are not yet there, but we are in the right direction. On the side of the asset recovery, we are glad as EACC to say that as at now we have recovered assets roughly approximately about 20 billion in the last 5 years, with an acceleration of this in the last 2 years. We have also been able to disrupt losses of public funds. That is about 100 billion. Unfortunately, disruption is one of the most effective way of fighting corruption, but is the least in terms of attention from the media.
Elsewhere, the National Cereals and Produce Board, NCPB, has today partnered with Copata Biological Systems to promote the use of AFLASAFE KE product among farmers. AFLASAFE is a safe natural solution to the problem of aflatoxin and is known to cut aflatoxin levels in maize and groundnuts by 80% down to safe levels. Speaking today after a strategic meeting with stakeholders, NCPB Managing Director Joseph Kimote said it is important to control the contamination of aflatoxin before it infects the crops to ensure that food is safe for human consumption.
Recently at the National Cereals and Produce Board, we had to destroy, in conjunction with public health, we had to destroy almost 125,000 50 kg bags of maize, which were invested with aflatoxin. And we want to ensure that indeed we encourage our farmers to use AFLASAFE so that we don't have to destroy food again because of aflatoxin infestation. So that is the import of this particular product. And we want to also encourage also the other partners to be able to join us, and we go through the journey of promoting this product in this country. We have already isolated the aflatoxin hotspots in this country, and our focus will be on those areas first, where we strongly believe the infestation is a bit higher than the other regions, and we progressively move to the entire country.
Finally, workers and businesses defaulted on loans worth 45 billion in 6 months to August when Kenya imposed stringent measures to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Data from the Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, shows that non-performing loans rose to 394.4 billion in August, up from 349.9 billion at the end of February, the sharpest 6-month increase in recent history. So how long will the financial sector take to recoup the lost monies?
Loans have, in terms of loans, we have really experienced, difficulties in collection, because if a staff in the sector is not receiving their salary, it's resulting to non-payment of loans. And banks have been forced to do restructures and give moratoriums. Financial sector recovering from the non-performing loans, I project, in my view, a period of not less than 2 years, because we expect the various companies and individuals and SMEs to go back to their normal operations in terms of making money. That is the cash flow that usually the business usually have, the turnovers that they usually have in terms of how much have you sold in.
And plans are underway to set up the Center for Construction Industry Development at the KONZA Technopolis. During a visit to the Technopolis, Principal Secretary for State Department of Public Works, Major General Retired Gordon Kihalangwa, said the construction of the center by the National Construction Authority will begin in a year's time. The PS, who led a delegation from the NCA to the Technopolis for the pre-development site visit, says they had always wanted to create a center for excellence for the country's vibrant construction industry. Let's listen in.
For us to make sure that we have a very good center of excellence whereby some of the little challenges that we experience are addressed or alleviated. One, sometimes you have actually heard of buildings collapsing. Maybe those are some of the little challenges that we get. We also have heard of contractors who have actually not finished their work in good time, and they keep on bringing variations, so the government end up losing money.
All right, that's all we had for you from the business desk. Let's do this tomorrow, same time, same place. But now it's time for sports with Frederica Moitiriri.
All right, thank you so very much. Don't be. It's time for sport. Keep texting me on 111 444 111. I'll be reading some of your SMSs before we wind up the bulletin. In a short while, sports.